So welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. It's nice to see some new faces, and welcome back to those of you who've been joining us almost every day for the last several months. As Eddie was saying, we're so happy to be able to do this. So sit straight and tall, take a simple cross-legged seat, and join your palms together in front of your heart. Close your eyes from top to bottom. Bring your awareness, your attention inside. Take a slow, smooth, even inhalation. Omkara bindu samyuttam
Omkara bindu samyuttam
Nityam dhyayanti yogenaha
Nityam dhyayanti yogenaha
Kamadam moksharam chaiva
Kamadam mokshadam chaiva
Omkaraya namo namaha
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 Press your sitting bones down. Gently lift your chest. And bow your head towards your hands, towards your heart. Bring your hands down, palms up. Raise your head with closed eyes. And then slowly open those eyes.
Okay. Well, this is hips, and Kristin is going to stay spotlighted because she's going to demo today. For the first pose, you need 1 or 2 bolsters placed against the wall. You could pull your mat to the wall. Stack 1 or 2 bolsters depending on your level of flexibility next to the wall. And then sit in simple cross legs with your right leg forward and your left leg back. Yes, on the side wall. You could sit on that blanket if you'd like, or you don't need it, I don't think, Kristin. But you see, she's sitting on the mat and she's facing one wall. And that's what all of you need to do. The bolster is right up against the wall. And then you place your hands on the wall and you kind of measure how far you need to be from the wall. You see, she moved back already. So, and like you see, there's little adjustments here now. So it's what they call in India neti, a little of this and a little of that. And you might need to go back and you might need to go forward so that you can be in that seated position and fully extend your arms. See if you could feel the stretch in your armpit. And if you need to move back further to do this, you can. You rest your forehead on the bolster. And if the bolster is too far from you because you're far from the wall, which I don't imagine it will be, one or two bolsters, you rest your head there. You could pull the bolster back so it's supporting your arms, but it's not snug against the wall. And then you press. You press your hands. You extend your arms. You reach all the way through to your waist. And you try to release your legs, which is difficult. There's a tendency in this position for the groin to tighten and to pull the knees up. See if you could release that. And then release any tension that might be caused in your face, your head, your neck, from your reaching your arms. See if you can really be soft. Let go. Release. You keep extending your arms, but softening the tissue in your face. And now, soften your face again as you reach your arms. Let your head release. Soften the tissue around your eyes, your nose, your temple skin. Release your entire scalp. Let your head rest on that bolster. Then very slowly slide your hands back onto the bolster. Come on up, switch your cross legs, and go back down. And reach yourself. Reach your arms and see if you could feel this stretch from pressing the knuckle of your index finger, the base of the thumb, very firm. Make your outer wrist light against the wall. So it's the knuckle of the index finger, the base of the thumb, and the inner wrist that press mostly. And with that pressure, you can try to get a stretch in the armpit. And then as you attend to your effort, relax your face, relax your eyes, relax the tissue in your head completely. Your scalp, let go there. Soften. Release. Bring your awareness to your breath and see if you could soothe any resistance in the body with your breath. We're going to find that there are places that really are being challenged by these postures. And it's different places for everybody. But the places that you're challenged in, see if you can really release. Like I said, there's a tendency for the inner groin to contract and the knees to get pulled up. See if you could release there. As you press, see if you could get a relationship between the palm of your hand and your sitting bone so that this glides through your entire upper body and the legs let go. Soften your face again. Release your neck. Relax your face. Soften the tissue around your eyes, your lips, your jaw. Allow your tongue to float in the center of your mouth. It's behind the two front teeth, but the tip of the tongue is in space, and the mouth gets very, very soft. Now, very slowly, remove your hands from the wall, put them on the bolster, come on up. The next pose is Prasarita Tananasana. And for that pose, you don't need a wall, so you could pull your mat away from the wall. Or you could leave it there, whatever's right for you. And then you do need a blanket. I'm going to ask you to try fold a blanket and put it horizontal across the mat. And then separate your feet on either side of that. Can you turn your blanket the other way, Kristin? So you could adjust your head depending on how the pose lands on you. That's it. Thank you. So Kristin's taking 2 blankets, and you guys are more than welcome to do that. So separate your feet. And take a moment to really look at your feet. See, Kristin's starting with her hands down on the blanket because it actually gets you closer to your feet. And the name of this pose is wide angle foot posture. And what she's trying to do is really organize her feet. She's trying to get the outside edges parallel to each other. The weight is on the base of the big toe, and then she puts her head on the blankets and stretches her arms forward. Now the thumbs can touch the blanket, just the tip of the thumbs can touch the blanket, so you have an idea of where you are. That's good. Yes, that's really good. Now they're even, they're both in line with your shoulders. Now the kneecaps, here we go. The kneecaps lift. This is the fundamental structural alignments. The lower legs roll in and the upper legs roll out. The lower legs rolling in gives you the support to pressurize the base of the big toe, and that engages the lower leg. The upper leg, the knee lifts and it rolls out, which brings coolness to the knees. See if you could release your head, your neck. Reach your arms, stay aware in your legs, and now soften your face. Really see if you could cultivate an atmosphere of contentment, which sometimes is difficult, especially here through COVID, because we're all being challenged in slightly different ways. Some of us are steeping in our aloneness. Some of us are lonely. Some of us are lacking contact with other people. And this, actually coming together and doing a class like this gives us some contact. And it's nice. We get to work together to integrate our being, our mind, our body, and our heart. So you keep reaching your arms, working your legs, and softening your face. Remember, the base of the big toe presses firm. That doesn't mean the outer heel is light. The center of the heel presses. The base of the big toe presses. The lower legs roll in, the upper legs roll out. The knees are engaged, so they're lifted. And some of you, most of you, can see your knees. So you might want to engage them and watch them lift, and then let them go, and then watch them lift. And so you have a gauge on what it means to have them engaged. And then, again, relax your head, neck, reach your arms, soften your face, and release in your eyes. You can have your eyes closed here if you'd like. Go inside. If your mind starts to chase something, either in the past, a memory, or in the future, some planning, focus your mind on your breath and use that to navigate into the present moment. Now from there, very slowly, slide your hands back so they're underneath your shoulders. Press your arms straight. Wiggle your feet back together toward the center of the mat. Crab crawl your feet. When you feel like they're close enough, place your hands on your waist. Inhale as you come up. The next pose is Upavish to Konasana. Now you could look at Kristin's blankets. They're high enough so she could use those as a bolster, but if you'd like a bolster, if you prefer a bolster's a little lower than that. You can put one of those blankets on the bolster if you'd like, because you want more support. Now, spread your legs to the corners. Now, some of you are going to be on the long, your heels are going to point toward the long side of the mat. If you look carefully at Kristin for a moment, her heels are pointing slightly to the short side of the mat. Her heels are back a couple of inches from the corner, and that's fine. And from here, put your hands behind you as Kristin has, and use your arms to deliberately lift your chest and take your sitting bones back. So you could feel more of the front edge of your sitting bone. Yes, thank you. Then the back edge. You want to be from the middle of the sitting bone forward. That's it. And then inhale to lift the chest. Exhale, please come forward. And you could organize yourself as you'd like. You see, Kristin moved one hip back because she felt an incongruency. And you might need to do that. Some of you will be aware that one sitting bone is more firm on your mat, the floor, than the other. And you can make that adjustment. And Kristin initially came down on her elbows and supported her forehead. And you could do that. And if that's as far as you go, that is fine. You can stay up on your elbows. Or as the pose invites you in, you could accept that invitation and really go with it. Now, most of you have your head straight down, which is the way I prefer to do this pose. It's fine. But having support of your arms, blankets, your hands enables you to have your head in line with your spine, pointing down toward the bolster without turning your head and without invading the space at your nose. And then let your belly go. Extend through your legs and soften your face. Let loose here. Let go completely. Release entirely. So yoga on the inside really balances the effort and the relaxation. You extend into the fundamental structural alignments, and then you soften your being so that you can be receptive and receive the benefits of the fundamental structural alignments, because these alignment positions activate different parts of your body, and each pose is specific to different areas in the body. This is very much a hip opener. This is really helps everything in the pelvis. Allow yourself to settle. And that's the process you get to watch when you start to receive this pose. You know, we spend a lot of time doing yoga, and sometimes the entire approach to the pose is doing. And when you continue doing, you don't really have the space to become receptive. So we apply ourselves to the posture, and then we receive the benefits of it. And here you can let your belly go. You can allow yourself to be supported in your head, your arms, your whole torso. The legs start to flatten, and see if you could feel your hamstrings broaden because of the weight on your legs. When we stretch the legs, the hamstrings narrow. And then we get to our threshold somewhat quickly. If you can pressurize the legs so the entire thigh goes down, you will feel the tissue on the back of the leg broaden, and you might get more space, more room from that action. So that's the relationship. The fundamental structural alignments inform the way you receive the pose. And that's a very important relationship that we're cultivating on Yoga on the Inside. And I have to compliment you guys, because watching you over the last several months and to see how much you've progressed and how intimate you've made this posture, these poses, this practice with yourself, it's really inspiring. Thank you so much. Yeah, Brett, if it feels right to hold that back bar of the chair so that you reach your waist, you can do that. Yep. And just let your head relax a little bit. And you could build up that chair seat so you can let your head be supported too. And then reach into your arms. That's it. So your waist gets length. Your legs get length. Your legs press down. Soften your eyes, your tongue, your cheeks, the corners of your nose. Turn your awareness to your breath and watch your inhalation, particularly at the nostrils. And see if you could expand the vacuum that's caused by your lungs expanding, the rib cage expands, the diaphragm descends. You create a vacuum at the edge of your nose, right at the nostrils, and see if you could feel any suction in the pores at the corners of your nose. It's a very subtle sensation, but you might be able to contact it. And that's what we're moving in the direction of in Yoga on the Inside. We're moving in the direction of subtlety. And now, very slowly, wherever your hands are, slide them so that they're underneath your shoulders. Press yourself up. And then reach your arms and grab the tissue on the inner knees. Pull the inner, yeah, you could push your bolster forward. You see how Kristin just pulled her legs into Baddha Konasana? And then take that bolster. So she's got her hands behind her. She moved the bolster out of the way. You're going to lift your chest, press your sitting bones back, just to relieve yourself of that extension on the inner knee. Now you get to close your knees and comfort any stress that was put on the knees whatsoever. And then I'm going to ask you to grab that blanket that you can reach, make a roll, and sit on the bolster, because we're going to do Baddha Konasana on 3 levels and bend forward. So you see Kristin has rolled the blanket and then it went and unrolled on her. So, and that happens to a lot of us. So she's going to do it from the side so you can really see the relationship between her feet and her torso. Look at now, you see when you roll the blanket and you have it against the bolster, it stays there. And look at how far back on the bolster Kristin is. So you get back because it's very similar to Setu Bandha, where you're dragging the tissue on the back body. Here you're dragging the tissue of the buttocks backward, and the pubic bone goes down. The sitting bones go back, and you see she's using her fingertips and dragging her pelvis as far forward as is reasonable for her to go. And that's different for each and every one of you. And then look at what she's done. You see, she's navigated her approach so accurately that she could put her hands directly under her shoulders. And if those of you who are on speaker view, if you can look at her and see the alignment between her wrist and her shoulders, the shoulders go back, the chest threads through the arms. The outer heel presses each other. The sitting bones go back. The chest lifts up, and then you soften. And then you soften. And then you soften. You've made a setting. Your legs are set. Your torso is set. You can continue to work on your shoulders because they want to move toward the back body. We've been conditioned from our lifestyle for the shoulders to revolve around to the sides and the front of the body. And we want them back so that there's more space and room for the ribs, the armpit, and the chest. So as you get the invitation to go down and lower yourself more and more. Now you can walk your hands forward and allow your torso to come down. And if you want to come down on your elbows the way Kristin has, you can. You're invited to do that. But if your buttocks gets too light, if your butt comes off the bolster, that's not what we want. We want your sitting bones to stay down on the bolster. And if your elbows are down, see if you could start to pull your forearms backward towards your pose and begin to thread your chest through your arms. Look straight down at the floor rather than forward, so you make the back of the neck long. Because here we're really working on the sacrum, and you can simultaneously work on your skull, the occiput, the base bone of your skull, which is more to the back than the front, and make space between the occipital ridge and the top bone of your spine, which is the atlas. The atlas holds up the earth. The earth is your head. The atlas also balances the earth. So the back of the neck is long. You're facing the floor straight down underneath your arms, and that elongates the back of the neck. The sitting bones are moving back. And then see if you could allow all your weight to go down into your feet. Continue to encourage your spine to be longer and longer. Go inside. Some of these timings are long. This is a hip opening class, and this you will feel freedom in your hips. What we're doing is we're making space between the legs and the pelvis and freeing the stress that's put on our pelvis spine from the tight-knit relationship between our legs and our pelvis. Hip openers are so beneficial for your entire pelvis and your spine, because when the hips are stiff, we recruit flexibility from the spine that we should get from the hips. Go inside. If you want to close your eyes, please do. And bring your awareness to your breath. Relax your entire face, head, scalp. Encourage your neck to be long. That means your chin can go a little bit toward your chest. And Kristin's came down and is extending her arms and supporting her forehead now. She's gotten the invitation though. If you don't get the invitation, don't push into the pose. This has been a primary pose for Kristin for several years. She resisted it at first, but the benefits that Kristin has accrued from moving into this posture on a daily basis has been so beneficial. She has completely changed her physiology from practicing this pose. It's important to wait for the invitation to continue to go further in the direction of the postures. You have to be sensitive to yourself and what your range of motion is and what your maximum capacity is. Don't exceed that. Be sensitive and care deliberately for yourself. Now, very slowly, slide your hands underneath your shoulders if they're not already. Press yourself up. Sit back on the bolster a little bit. Go ahead, move your buttocks back. That's it. Then grab your outer knees, pull them together. Good. Now I'm going to ask you to tri-fold that blanket again. You can lose the bolster. The next pose is Gomu Kasana. So I'm going to ask you to move the tri-fold blanket back so you're just on the front edge, or you could make it in line with your mat. That's it, toward the back edge of the mat. Oh, you have room. I didn't see that. Good. And sit on the blanket, the tri-fold. And some of you might need 2 tri-fold blankets. We're going to do Gomukhasana. And the way we're going to approach it is from sitting. We're not going to do it from our knees. So I'm going to ask you to take your right leg, your right knee over the top of your left. Put your right foot to the outside of your left hip. Your left heel goes to the outside of your right hip. And now look at the way Kristin's navigating. She goes back and forth between her feet and her knees. She's adjusting her sitting bones. She pulls the right foot in. She adjusts her pelvis. She pulls the left foot in. She adjusts her pelvis. She's like navigating the heels so they become firm, right heel to left hip, left heel to right hip. And there's a tendency with the right leg on top for the right outer hip to pull the right heel away from the left hip. That's where the stiffness is. See if you could pull the right foot back even further and make it firm against the left hip. And then sit up tall. You can close your eyes here and go inside and soften and feel what's going on in your hips. Just assess what it's like to be in the sitting position. And my heels would not stay against my hips. When I first started doing this pose, I tried to use the sticky mat to gain traction, to hold my feet against my pelvis. And my hips were pretty stiff, so they would slide. So there was a constant re-establishing of the posture for me. I needed to keep pulling my heels back to my hips. And now, with your hands where they are on the hips, take an inhalation, on the knees, lift your chest, and exhale and bend forward. And now you might become aware that there's more sensation in your outer right hip across the right buttocks. So depending on the length of your torso, your chin will it might be your forehead that goes to your knees. It might be your chin that just goes to your knees, and your chin might extend over the front of your knee, as Kristin's does. If your head doesn't reach your knees and you're feeling a very strong stretch in your buttocks, it's fine. Just let your head release. You don't want pain in either knee. If there's pain in the knee, don't push in that direction at all. Good. Very slowly come on up and switch sides. You take the right leg out, you take the left leg out. You put the right leg in, and then you put the left leg on top of that. If you establish the right heel against the left buttocks first, that's a good idea. And look at how much, there's wiggling. You want to get your heels firm. You can adjust your calf muscles. You could adjust your hamstring. So there's more room between your legs to get your heels close to your pelvis. And then start by sitting up. You can allow your eyes to close. If you want to put the base of your palm toward the bottom of your feet, closer to your toes than your heel, and press the top of the feet down onto the floor, that facilitates the pose. And then take a deep inhalation, lift the chest, and exhale, fold. Go forward. Yes, with an open chest. Really nice. And as I said before, if your forehead is on your knee, your chin, or your throat, it's all good. If your head doesn't reach, you want to extend and lengthen your spine, and then go inside and lean in to the sensation in your left buttocks. If you're feeling this more in your right buttocks cheek than your left buttocks cheek, it's an indication that your right hip is stiff, stiffer than the left. You should feel this more from the left hip to the left sacrum. And whether it's out by the outer hip or closer to your sacrum, it really doesn't matter. That whole band of muscle is being extended. Let yourself be heavy. Soften your eyes, your cheeks, your tongue, your jaw. Float your tongue in space. But lean into the sensation in your buttocks, whether it's in your right or left hip. Lean into that sensation and see if you could pacify the sensation at all by letting go. Be deliberate. Soften yourself there. You might notice that your torso is being pulled to one side of the posture more than the other. See if you could center it. Relax both shoulders completely. If you sense that your left heel is getting light in relationship to your hip, you can pull it back and toward the center of your pose. Reset the pose, and then go back inside and release, relax, let go. Bring your awareness to your breath and follow it into the present moment. You can't breathe later. You can't breathe tomorrow. You can't breathe yesterday. You can only breathe now. So it's a tremendous vehicle to propel you into the present moment. And the present moment has a lot of freedom in it. We seem to be trapped by our memories and our planning, and we get stuck. And those are somewhat problematic areas to bring your thinking to. The mind is a thinking machine. It was made to think. If you focus the mind on your breath, you can direct it into the present moment. And the present moment has freedom there for you. It has release. Feel that, lean into it, press yourself against that by directing your awareness into your breath. Now, very slowly, bring your hands underneath your shoulders. Straighten your arms, come on up. Release the pose very slowly. And then you might need a block. The next pose is Mandu Kasana, where our big toes are touching, our knees are separate. And Kristin's going to face the wall, I believe, or is she going to face the camera? Either way, yes. You see, when she does the pose this way, you could really see how wide her knees are. And now Kristin doesn't need a block, but if there's any sensation in your knee, you see how she approached the block, went in from the front. It doesn't go in from the back because the feet are in the way. The big toes, you can't see them, but you could feel your big toe touching each other. Now Kristin's turning around. She's being so polite. Look at what she's doing for you guys. So the big toes are touching, and look at how her feet create a saddle for her buttocks. This pose is called Mandu Kasana, pose of a frog. And you could see this is how a frog hibernates. So now she's going to turn around. This is the hibernating frog. But we're not in full hibernation yet because we're still sitting up, setting the pelvis. Look at how she's gotten her sitting bones firm on the floor. And if you're on a block, you're getting your sitting bones firm on a block. Now, from here, I'm going to ask you to put your hands on the floor in front of you and then start walking your hands forward as far as you can go. And look at how Kristin stopped and listened to her pose for a moment. And that's an important part of yoga on the inside, because waiting for the invitation, moving in the direction of the full posture, and then waiting for the invitation is one of the pillars of yoga on the inside. And that's an important factor in the way you approach your personal practice. It makes it personal. It presents care for yourself. It presents sensitivity for ourselves. And it's through cultivating the sensitivity to ourselves that we could finally learn to be sensitive to others, to ask ourselves, how is this statement going to land on my posture? How is this statement going to land on my friend? Because you can't take back what you say. And then if you look carefully at Kristin, she's come all the way down. She's extending her chest. in the direction of her chin. She's reaching her arms, making the waist as long as possible. And this is where the frog is coming into full hibernation. If you can, rest your forehead on the floor. If your nose is not in the way, you can do that. But if you get more length and extension in your armpit, torso, from having your chin rest on the floor, that's a great approach. And now very slowly walk your hands back toward your legs. Yes, you push your hands to bring your pelvis up. Then lean forward, curl your toes under and straighten your legs to Uttanasana. Just to bring relief to the knees. This can be strong on the knees, very strong in the pelvis. Look at your knees so the back of the neck is long and tighten them. Take the inner knee back toward the wall behind you, the outer knee forward towards your face. So you're internally rotating your legs, you're tightening them. The whole upper leg is strong and tight. The kneecaps are square. You could see them. They get a square position. My teacher says when the knees are relaxed, they look like English muffins with all those little nooks and crannies and all the wrinkles. See if you can make your knees wrinkle free. And that has a lot to do with your age. I can't do that anymore. And bring your weight towards your big toes, not till your heels get light, but until you feel your lower leg stretch as much as your upper leg. Uttanasana is a full leg stretch. It's not just the stretching of the hamstrings. Now, very slowly, bend your knees, roll up to standing, and go get yourself a belt. You could have a blanket for your head, if you'd like. And watch Chris, she's going to fold the blanket in half from that position and then in half again. She's going to lay down on her back and she's going to open her belt quite wide. And watch the way she does this. This is a posture we call, or not just us, but our teacher calls Bangalore Shavasana. So you see that she put it on her knees first. She lays down. She grabs the belt and then places the belt over her neck, removes her hair, and then pulls that belt without the buckle. The buckle is between the knees and the neck. She pulls the belt as far down to her shoulders as possible. So the belt isn't pulling on the middle of the neck at all. It's pulling on the shoulders. The palms face the ceiling. If you have the belt too short, your knees might fall into your chest. If you have the belt too long, it's not going to work. Once you release your legs, there's traction on your shoulders. Deliberately open your chest. Let your palms face the ceiling and then let go everywhere. As you let go in your legs, the belt pulls increasing traction on your shoulders. Soften. Soften your eyes, your tongue, your cheeks. Go inside. Contact your breath. Let go everywhere. Let loose completely. Kelly, loosen your belt a little more. Good, yeah, you can let it out a little bit more. That's good. It's okay. Then settle. And then moving very slowly, I want you to bend your elbows and reach up and grab that belt and take it up over your head. And then roll to your side. Take the belt off your legs and find a simple cross-leg position and sit up tall, please. Please sit tall like a pyramid. Organize your torso. Hi. And then very slowly place your hands at your heart center. Balance your torso directly over your pelvis. Lift the side ribs, lift your sternum into your thumbs. Exhale all your air and take a slow, smooth, even, deep inhalation. Namaskar. Thank you so much